Does she know that? Does he know that? Like, I just need y'all to talk about it before y'all go walking out the front door or the back door or bringing someone else into your space. See, people don't value the bedroom as a sacred space. That's why I name my Alexa speaker as safe space. Today, we're exploring a topic that affects every aspect of our lives: our expectations. When reality doesn't match what we anticipated, whether in friendships, work, finances, or intimate relationships, we often question our worth. Why do we feel we're not enough when expectations go unmet? We'll examine how expectations form, why they sometimes hurt us, and most importantly, how to adjust them for better mental health and relationships. Remember our whole U pyramid? Today, we'll connect expectations back to that framework and see how they often stem from our inner child's unmet needs. I'll guide you through addressing, adjusting, and applying new perspectives across crucial areas of our lives. Let's begin this journey toward healthier, more compassionate expectations of others and ourselves. Welcome to Adjusting. Welcome to Adjusting, a safe space for candid conversations about mental health and well being with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Whether you're recovering from trauma, redefining your purpose, managing mental health, or simply craving more authenticity, this show is for you. I hope something resonates with you and helps you on your own personal journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And we're back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. And I am very excited for this episode today. It it was a process to get this thing out. I'll just be very honest with you all. I recorded it once. It just wasn't, it didn't resonate. It wasn't authentic. I recorded it again. It recorded in slow motion. TJ texted me and said, the audio isn't lining up with the video for some reason. And it's in slow motion. What happened? God was just like, that ain't the episode I want you to put out. I want you to sit with it just a little more. And sometimes when I am coming up with my episodes, I'm able to really like have a good 2 hour brain dump where I just write down every topic, every subtopic, quotes, things from books. Like I pull inspiration from a lot of things, and I tend to equate that to just my multi-hypheness. Like this week alone, I went to an AI conference, workshop, and some things happened at church, good things. Um, Life is full of, I don't want to say life is full of lessons, life is full of experiences. And within those experiences, I tend to find, lessons that I can share with you all based on mental health and or triggers or things that pop up for me that I'm just like, I need to process this a little more. And it's just part of healing. It's a part of that new level that we often come to once we've reached a point in our healing journey. Okay, that was a long sub intro. So sorry. Hi. Welcome back to Adjusting Podcast, where this week we're talking about adjusting your expectations and not just in friendships, but this episode will touch on like sexual expectations, professional expectations, financial. And again, a lot of this was inspired by my therapy session and some other encounters. So buckle in, okay? Before we get to our breathing exercise today, I want to do our regular announcements and shout outs. Shout out to TJ Bolden with Tea with TJ podcast for editing my podcast. And also, please support him. I do have a few updates with things. Adjusting is expanding. We are now on Substack. I created a like post show kind of thing on Substack. I'm just trying to take up space. I'm trying to get eyes on the podcast because I really love doing this and I want more people to know about it. So on Substack, I put the link in the bio or the description in the bottom or wherever you're watching this, you will see it. It's a Substack and a link. It's called Adjusted Perspectives. Basically, it's just a recap of the show with additional information, books that I've referenced, any links or other YouTube videos. I'm restarting with season 1 so that we can like catch up to where we are now. So that will be posted on Tuesdays. So like an episode post Monday, the recap will post on Tuesday. Just try to space things out. And then I created a TikTok page. I created this page solely for professional purposes. I want to be able to capture analytics from various platforms to present to people when I'm looking for sponsorships and brand deals and things like that. So I just want to make sure I have separate analytics from my personal page. Because my personal page, I talk a lot about books and other things not related to the podcast. So with that in mind, you can also follow my other pages, Type J Marketing for branding and marketing, my vegan lifestyle brand, Earthy and Cultured, or you can support me on my creative adventure on at Justin G. Nelson to follow my audition process and other things that I have going on. Perfect. Now, let us center ourselves for this episode. So, if you're driving, focus on that, okay? And if you're not, if you're home, if you have a second or 10 to really check in with yourself, just make some time to kind of reset your nervous system. I invite you to this sacred breath. So, on the count of 3, I want you to relax your knees, your thighs, relax your stomach, your heart, your throat, your shoulders, your chin, your cheeks, your forehead. Okay. Put your right hand on your heart and take a deep breath in, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3. A deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. And out. 1, 2, 3. Let's begin. All right, so this episode was a triggering one for me. It brought up a lot of inner child things that I'm realizing it still falls under the umbrella of people pleasing at times, and or the inner child aspect of the desire to be seen, validated, desired, and wanted. But first, we're going to talk about addressing expectations in friendships. So, when you're creating something and you're creative and you share your idea with someone, we expect them to be like, yeah, I'm proud of you. I see you do your thing. Yeah, how can I support you? I got you. That's the expectation we put on people because we equate friendship to support. We equate family to support. We equate time to support. We do this thing where we create this idealized version of what our friends and family should be doing for us, but real support and real people come with real limitations. We forget that people are humans outside of that, and some people just don't have the capacity to support us in the way that we want them to do so. Those limitations are important to understand. Maybe your friend has some other issues like depression. Depression is real. Depression is a silent thing, and oftentimes we don't give people grace when it comes to those moments. We never know. There could be, for me, sometimes seasonal depression is not always around the holidays. January is a hard time for me. July, while it's my birthday, my dad's birthday is 3 days before mine. That's a hard time for me. Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays are really hard for me, but I tend to push through or I mask it with a lot of work. But sometimes we forget our friends are human beings with limited resources. Limited time, limited emotional bandwidth, limited capacity to show up perfectly for everyone in their lives. We often expect a level of support that would require our friends to be superhuman. Okay. Like we have a best friend, a BFF, but then you have like close friends, you have friends that are like a brother or a sister, but they're not Superman. They're them. Okay. There's this painful moment when a friend can't support your latest project or goal and it feels like personal rejection. I have been there weekly with this podcast. There's so many people I'm just like, I know they're going to repost this. I know they're going to share this. I know they're going to listen. Analytics show that is a lie. And it sucks. It hurts. It is the one of the most not painful, not most painful. That is very dramatic, but it is a very it's a real emotion. And I honor that emotion. There is a sense of feeling let down. You know what makes me happy though? Knowing that my mom is just like, "Where's your episode? I missed your episode. I'm listening." Thank you, mom. Like I appreciate it. My other friends, Jesse, he will text me. I'm out on my walk. I'm listening. It's like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. My friend Laura down in Nashville, she'll text me, "Love the episode, brother." I'm like, "Thank you, sister. Thank you. I appreciate it." That means a lot. Like, I don't want to be that person that checks my analytics and metrics to see like who's checking in where, because then I'm just like, who is this? But there is an expectation that I set with this brand, this project, other project, and it gets deep with the expectations. When friendships disappoint us, we often make that mean sometimes we often make that means that we're worthless and there's no value in what we have to offer. If I were enough, you would show up for me. And I think we sometimes line that up with, oh, you'll support a celebrity before you support me. I'm not going to say you'll support Beyonce before you support me. I get it. Sis has put in work. Okay. She has built a brand. I would support her before me too. But the Living Single reboot, they launched their podcast. And so many people just like, oh, I've been waiting for this podcast. This is great. I'm gonna support. Can you listen to mine too? Like turn theirs on and then cue mine up right after it. That would be great. You know, I got a YouTube video to go with it. Like you can treat it like a adjusting TV show. That would mean a lot. So that is addressing the friendship expectations. Now let's move over. Let's move on over in that cubicle to addressing professional expectations. Remember, part one is all about addressing these expectations. So there is this thing that I like to call CPS, Capable Person Syndrome. And I, Justin G. Nelson, have it. I have had that syndrome since birth, I'm assuming. I may or may not have shared this story with y'all before, but in the third grade, my third grade teacher, Miss Lewis, she listen. I was a scholar. Okay, I was a scholar. I graduated valedictorian of my elementary class, even though they spelled my name wrong, and she had me tutoring kids in the third grade. And because I was the capable one in the class, and I was the one that was always done with their work early and made a 100 and an A, and I grasped the information, I was able to help my peers. And let me tell you something. Okay, Curtis, there's this name. Curtis was just like, I don't want nobody in this class to help me but Justin. Curtis was a bully to other people, but he was not a bully to me, okay? And for that, I was happy because listen, if I got to help you with 1 + 1 = 2, just for you not to beat me up, sit down. Sit down. I got this, okay? But when it comes to professional expectations, and I go through this at church, and if you go to my church, you listening to this, you know, okay? I am always the just let Justin know and he'll get it taken care of. Yeah, I know I work here part time. Part time. time. Or, hey, Justin, I have a idea for something. Why are you telling me? Oh, you know, you're creative. You're that multi hyphenate. Yeah, that. And I really want you to, use your creative mind because it's just so beautiful to see what you create. Stop looking. Stop looking. Get somebody else to do it. Okay, I'm tired. But by a show of hands, by a show of likes or a show of shares, how many of you also identify as the capable one in your professional space? It ain't all it ain't all it seems to be. I think that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Being good at what you do is supposed to be rewarding, but instead you've become the difficult solution to everyone else's poor planning. Yeah, I work well under pressure, but it's because I created the pressure, not because you waited until the last minute to put something together and now it's my responsibility to make it look like you've been planning this for the last 3 months. That's not fair. You've got capable person syndrome, CPS, when people look shocked that you can't drop everything to save the day. That's when those boundaries come in. That's when you say, I'm sorry, we just won't be able to do that this time. It's not in the cards. I don't see it. The tricky part is how we start believing that our value is tied to being needed, that your worth comes from how many fires you can put out for other people. When was the last time you said no to a last minute request? I said no the other day. It wasn't, was it it was something that happened in my home church and it required, it was going to stress me out. And I told my mom, I said, this is creating some anxiety for me. So I'm just going to say, no, I don't think it's necessary. She said, okay. I was like, yes, thank you, mother. Thank you for having my back. But that is a huge thing that we will talk more about in the second section when it comes to adjusting your expectations. So, my people with CPS, we're going to get through this. Now, moving on to something that my therapist and I talked about when it comes to finances is financial expectations. We think, this is me being transparent, from March to now, I was working for number four, part-time jobs. My church, University of Memphis, my clients, and my merchandise job. And recording this podcast, y'all. I am tired. Was tired. And people equate my business and my multiple streams of income to me having all this money. I thought I did. I was really like, yes, I'm setting myself up. I'm going to be in a good place financially. Let's get real about this hustle culture for a minute when it comes to the idea that if you work hard enough, you'll be rewarded for it. How is that working for most of us? How is that? I'm going to be a social media creator and I'm going to post 3 times a day and I'm going to do this. How is that working? We've been sold this narrative that constant productivity equals success, which equals happiness. But many of us find ourselves in burnout while waiting for someday to actually enjoy our lives. We talked about this in adjusting to burnout. We talked about this in adjusting your energy. We talked about capitalism and how it's just it robs us of so much joy and experiences that we want to have. But here's a question worth asking. What is enough success for you? And does that target keep moving every time you get close to it? I'm pausing because I be hurting my own feelings when I be asking y'all these questions. Again, what is enough success for you? And does that target keep moving every time you get close to it? Whose bar, who are you basing your bar off of? Is it social media? Is it another celebrity? Is it a peer? Or is it just you, like in your level of happiness? When your financial reality doesn't match your expectations, do you question your competence, your worth, your entire identity? That's the achievement identity fusion at work. I know I have fallen into the trap of tying my finances and worth with clients, to the point where I'm just like, mm, I was expecting, you see how much work I'm doing for you. I was expecting them to say, you know what? You deserve a raise. No. Oh, no, no. They go, oh my God, you do such a good job. Oh, yeah. Like everyone loves to work. Yeah, but you're not. That's my fault. I allowed this to go on for so long. The system we're working in doesn't always reward effort fairly, yet we internalize disappointments as personal failures rather than systemic issues. I hope y'all are still with me because whew, this last section, again, we talked about, I think in season one, we talked about adjusting your sexual position. I try not to talk about sex a lot on the podcast. I don't want people to be uncomfortable, but it's a thing. So we're going to talk about addressing your sexual expectations. I shared again the concept of sexpectations and having that conversation with your partner or whomever you are intimate with. And recently I had a conversation with a friend of mine about just like polygamy and being in like open relationships and those expectations when it comes to communication. Um, but let's dive into something many of us struggle with but rarely discuss openly: our sexual expectations and what happens when they're not met. So much of what we experience in our intimate relationships come from weird places, from porn, media that isn't realistic, past experiences that may not have been relevant, and assumptions we never actually communicate. You might have problematic sexual expectations if you're chronically disappointed, but never actually talk about it. You may have kinks and fetishes that you're into, that your partner is into, or you may have needs, sexual needs. It doesn't have to be penetrative sex. It can be just intimate things that aren't being met because you're not talking about. Like communication and sex is, they go hand in hand. See, they were sisters. And you need to be able to communicate those needs in a safe, healthy way. Because that's why people cheat. Okay, y'all not talking about stuff. You're like, wait, he should have knew what I need. Man, bro, she wasn't doing this for me, and I. Does she know that? Does he know that? Like, I just need y'all to talk about it before y'all go walking out the front door or the back door or bringing someone else into your space. See, people don't value the bedroom as a sacred space. That's why I name my Alexa speaker as safe space. If I said that name too loud, she would have popped on. But the rejection or mismatch hits differently because we've been taught that sexual desirability is somewhat tied to our fundamental value as people. Man, that kind of goes back to slavery, and for Black people. If you're Black, yes, because we were often valued by the size of our body parts. For men, it was your penis. For women, it was your butt. And that expectation or that sexual worth that we brought to people as a fetish became a trauma, but now it's being worshipped at times, not everyone, with BBLs and in rap music. And someone mentioned this the other day. I think it was in a book I was reading. I think, yeah, I just finished the book Black on Black by Daniel Black. And it talked about how a lot of times women are hypersexualized for their body, but not sexualized for their mind. And that the level of expectation comes with if she got this body, then I know she can do this. But instead of if she talks like this, then I know her worth or her emotional energy is like this. There's just like a disconnect when it comes to things. So let's move on to section 2, adjusting expectations. We're going to go back to adjusting your friendship expectations. What if we started looking at friendships more like a diverse portfolio rather than expecting one or two people to fulfill all of our needs? A friend of mine once shared that they have friends for certain sections of their lives, friends who may or may not be more experienced in a topic than other friends, and they just know they can go to their person about that one thing. Your college best friend might be amazing at deep conversations, but terrible at practical support. And that doesn't mean they're a bad friend, but just a specific kind of friend. Like my college friends, I can talk to them about music because we were all music majors. We lived and breathed music. I can say, hey, Eric Whitaker just released a new version of Sleep, what with a different title. Have you listened to it? Maybe let's jump on a Zoom or a FaceTime and do a choral analysis of it so that we can see how that really works and which one is best. I can't call nobody else and do that with them. They would say, what the hell is a choral analysis and why do I care? You know? So I can expect everyone to be excited about my love for choral music. People's capacity to show up for us changes with their life circumstances, their new job, their new health struggles. I don't support the new relationship theory, okay? Because some of y'all ghost your friends, and that is not fair because you will tell us everything that we didn't ask for about this new boo that popped up in your life. Y'all get in this little newlywed phase, and then nobody hear from you, and just like, hey, just checking in. Oh, I just been so busy with. You weren't so busy telling me everything. You weren't so busy calling me when they didn't do this or they didn't bring you flowers or they forgot this. But when things are good, you're busy. And then when y'all break up, you back on my phone. I don't want to talk to your ass no more. Anyway, um, here's the mindset shift that changed everything. What if your friends' limitations aren't reflections of your worth, but simply their own humanity? They're humans. I am still wrestling with that. Thank you, therapist, for sharing that with me. Instead of asking, why aren't they meeting my expectations? Try asking yourself, are my expectations aligned with what this specific relationship can realistically offer? Not saying you've outgrown them, but just saying y'all are on two different wavelengths, and there are some topics and issues I don't even think you can comprehend. Because, and this is no shade, some of y'all operate on a different mindset when it comes to support or love or finances or health. And it's just like, ooh, I think you see an old version of me. And I'm a new person, quote unquote. So I need you to either keep up or there's only so much we can talk about. And it is no shade. Now, with being the capable one, this is going back to adjusting your professional expectations. Let's clarify something. Being available 24/7 is not the same as being good at your job. Okay, you are not paid around the clock 24/7. You are paid either from 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 7 to whatever. Okay, you are paid within that. Your contract says the times and the hours. Okay, the expectation that the job gives you is another thing. How you push back on that expectation, yeah, that's where the power is. It. In fact, it might actually make it less effective in the long run if you are available 24/7. When we're always available to solve problems, we create this unhealthy team dynamic where others don't develop their own problem solving skills. Let the ship sink. That's a tongue twister. Let the ship sink. What I want to say was let the shit sink, but let it sink. Like sometimes that's the only way to identify the holes in your professional life. Okay, there are people who are on payroll that just get a check and don't do a goddamn thing. Okay, but they show up and they're quick to raise their hand and give an opinion on what should have happened. Where were you? Why didn't you do anything? Oh, you had it. Meet me outside. Once we clock out, meet me outside. What would happen if we started thinking about boundaries not as a selfish act, but as ways to make yourself more effective and sustainable in your role? There's a world of difference between being dependable and being exploitable. I think M&A talks about that a lot with one of my jobs. She's like, they depend on you too much to the point where they're exploiting you, and it's not healthy. Dependable means people can count on you within reasonable boundaries. Exploitable means you have no boundaries. Wow. Your inherent worth exists completely separate from how useful you are to others. Your inherent worth exists completely separate from how useful you are to others. Adjusting your financial expectations. What if success wasn't defined by some external metric, but by standards that actually matter to you personally? There's this powerful practice of defining your own worth as enough. Like, even with this podcast, I am finding a good rhythm and a good flow, and I'm just like, this right here is enough. Like, I don't want to compare myself to a Mel Robbins or a Jay Shetty or anyone else with a larger platform. Like, am I bringing in money from this? No. Am I finding joy within this? Yes. Am I healing within this? Yes. Is this giving my friends something else to do creative? Absolutely. That is a metric that I will not see in my analytics, but it's something that I can measure with my happiness and my emotional energy meter. Goals and expectations serve different purposes. Goals motivate us forward, but rigid expectations often lead to disappointment. What would change if you could separate who you are from what you achieve financially? If a setback or plateau didn't feel like a personal indictment? The truth is, your bank account has absolutely no correlation with your worth as a human being, despite what our culture tries to tell us. So, if your brand is equated to being a six-figure chick, what would happen if you lost your six figures chick? What value you're equating your value as a human to money? Isn't it some type of like financial or corporate prostitution? I'm just saying, like, let's be real for a second. A lot of people lead with their money, and you expect people to bow down because you're a scam. I'm gonna quit calling everyone scammers. Okay, I'm sorry, everyone's not scamming. Sure. And then when it comes to adjusting your sexual expectations, sexual desire naturally ebbs and flows in long-term relationships. Okay. I know some people just like, we had to keep it spicy. We had to find a way to spice things up. You better go get some damn cayenne pepper and spice that shit up in the kitchen. Sorry. That plateau isn't necessarily a problem. It just might be normal. And people, I think it was a friend of mine. I won't gonna say their name, but They said, May, we're animalistic people, Science to tell you, like, we just can't be with one person. Bruh, you just like sex with multiple people, and that's fine. I am not shaming you in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But don't get up here and say we have animalistic tendencies, and you don't see a lion sleeping with the same person, or you don't see a bird. How dare you compare me as a human to a freaking lion? I'm a Cancer, first of all. Okay, I ain't got no those Leos, but no, do not justify that. No, the only justification that I will settle with is how things happen in the Bible. The only way you can say that you had multiple sexual partners, and I go, is if your wife was like the women in the Bible and they could not bear children, and you all had the conversation that said, I'm going to go sleep with them, but so that I can do the duty of the Lord. It's all in the Bible, like all in the book of Genesis. That they listen. They were a strong knit community. Now, some of them got jealous and tried to kill such and such and do other things. But like, if you read the Bible in a different context, you can see a lot of sexual expectations that were set, and it's just like, this is legal, but now it's not. So don't go out there telling your wife or baby mama, I'm gonna do this because the Lord told me. He didn't. He didn't. And I didn't tell you that either. Complete alignment in sexual preferences is actually pretty rare. Most healthy couples find their way through differences rather than perfect matching. What shifts when we change our focus from what I'm not getting to what we can create together? And I think that's the beauty of healthy sexual conversations. Sometimes you gotta add a toy in the room, okay? Sometimes you have to add another person. Sometimes, okay? Or sometimes you just need to explore solo. You never know what you will find, what new area of your body will awaken your desires. Sexual compatibility issues can feel intensely personal, but they're rarely a reflection of your worthiness or attractiveness. They're complex dynamics involving two whole humans. Okay? So this is going to be cringy, but I say this with love. You are a beautiful person. You are worthy of the love and the sexual intimacy that you desire. You do not have to shrink yourself in any way, shape, form, or fashion to receive the attention and attraction that you desire. Those are free affirmations that you can repeat to yourself if you ever feel that you are not receiving the attention, sexual attention that you want, or your sexual expectations are not being met based off physical attractions. That is bullshit. What if you could separate your sense of being desirable and worthy from any particular person's ability or interest in fulfilling specific desires? You can pause the episode here and kind of reflect on that, because I tend to go from serious to comical because I don't want anyone to sit with something for too long. But I always welcome you to pause an episode if you need to, because some things can be triggers, okay? So pause it if you need to. If not, we're going to move on to section 3, applying new expectations, okay? So going back to friendships, applying new expectations in your friendships. Here's a conversation starter that you can try. I've noticed I feel most supported when you like my post, or when you text me just something that you heard, not even in my podcast episode. You can find something in the world of mental health, in the world of performance, in the world of branding and marketing, in the world of vegan lifestyle. You can send me that and I will go, wow, you thought of me. you see me, and I appreciate that. Like those small gestures are great. Now, if you want to like get to the nitty gritty, if you like and share this podcast, like you really support my vision. You see this new me and where I'm going and the healing work that I've done to really bring joy and life in this mental health community. Thank you. Instead of relying on one or two friends for everything, what would it look like to build a constellation of different relationships? And that's what I've been doing, like with the aspect of like sexual friendships and stuff. Like I'm able to talk to multiple people about things. I'm just like fascinating. Like I would have never thought about that. Like I enjoy those sexual topics and conversations, and even with professional settings, like talking to certain people in the branding and marketing space, because everyone's not competition. Some people you just need friends to bounce ideas off of. Just like, I read this. What do you think about this? Or I'm currently working with a client who's doing this. What do you think about that? Those are different ways in friendships that you are able to just compartmentalize those people so that you're not making one person that everything. I try to be that one person for a lot of people, and it's not fair to me or them, because sometimes I'm not able to show up for them fully, and sometimes they need more time than I have to offer, and that part of my brain is shut off. There's this practice of consciously appreciating what each friendship uniquely offers rather than focusing on what's missing. When friendship disappointments hit hard, try this validation practice. Someone else's inability to show up for me doesn't diminish my worthiness of support. That's a lot. That is something that my therapist shared with me just to keep me inspired to keep doing everything I'm doing. I have like a small handful of people I know. As soon as I post something, they're going to like, they're going to share, they're going to tag, they're going to engage, because they get it. They understand truly what those things mean, not even from a friendship POV, but as a content creator. They know perfect engagement. This is going to help him get some more views, yada, yada, yada. But it's just those friends outside of that bubble. When they do it, I'm just like, wow, I really appreciate you. What would change if you became your own best friend first? Treating yourself with the kindness and understanding you wish other people would show you. With applying new professional boundaries as the capable one, let's talk about some scripts for boundary settings that don't damage relationships. So instead of saying no or hell no, try, I can't take that on right now, but I can help you find another solution. I think that is the most corporate response to no. I don't have mine is I don't have the mental capacity to do this right now, but I'm but I'm sure you can find someone else. Shifting others' expectations of your availability takes time. Start with small boundaries and gradually expand them as people adjust. Instead of solving problems for others, try this. What solutions have you considered thus far? What have you done this far in the process to get to where you want? What do you feel is missing? And what action steps are you doing to get there? This is asking them questions to shift their mindset so that they get out of this tense state of meeting the deadline and really focusing on the process of getting it done. Like every project has the same steps. You brainstorm, you research, you do a draft, you present the draft, you edit it, you present it, you offboard. That's it. Shout out to Google for my project management certification. When people push back against your new boundaries, and they will, remember that their discomfort doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Create a worth affirmation that resonates with you and repeat it daily. My value exists independently of my productivity. My value exists independently of my productivity. Or I am worthy whether I help everyone or no one today. I am worthy whether I help everyone or no one today. Y'all are getting a lot of affirmations this episode. When it comes to applying new financial expectations, what would it look like to actually turn off notifications after 6 p.m., to take your full lunch break away from your desk, to go outside and eat lunch? Finding meaning beyond money might look like asking yourself, what did I contribute today that felt meaningful, regardless of what I was paid for it? And that sometimes is where I get stuck. Um, and I think in my Bible reading plan, it talked about like worth, work versus rest. If you are happy doing something and you do something from a good place, you're operating in a mindset of rest, because in the Bible, when God worked and created the earth, he rest on Sundays, but then the Sabbath became a day of rest. But people started doing like worship services on Sundays. It's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. I'm resting in the Lord on this day as I worship. It's not work, that's worship. But when worship becomes performative, that becomes work. You've missed the mark. Okay. But if we go back to adjusting our financial expectations or even professional and spiritual expectations, we have to find that shift from work to rest, and from capitalism to living life for you. Try this daily abundance practice. Before bed, name 3 things you have enough of right now, even as you work towards your future goals. Financial setbacks hit our self esteem hard. When they happen, try this. This is a temporary situation that reflects economic conditions, not my personal value. Please be gentle with yourself as we go through whatever is coming with these tariffs and this recession that is allegedly coming. Like, really be gentle. What would change if you celebrated your non monetary contributions as valid measures of success? Your care for others, your creativity, or community involvement? And lastly, applying new sexual expectations. Try starting with curiosity. I'm curious about what makes you feel most connected during intimacy. I think mine is cuddling. Cuddling used to be, I used to feel smothered. I used to feel like, well, I get hot very quick. Like even now, I'm like sweating. But there was a lot of trauma associated with cuddling, like just being touch, physical touch. So I had to ease into that. During times of mismatched desire, maintaining emotional intimacy becomes crucial. What non sexual forms of connection could you prioritize? It starts with asking whether both people acknowledge the issue and want to address it. Building resilient self image means separating your sense of attractiveness from any one person's response to you. So, another free affirmation. My desirability isn't determined by any single person's desire for me. Do that. Do that in the mirror naked, and I promise you, it will make you feel like a brand new person. I don't know where I got that from. I think it was Sex, Love, and Goop. When people say when you are like raw and honest with yourself when it comes to your sexual needs and you do it naked in front of a mirror, it's like mirror work. I think we talked about that. Jesus, season 1, when I talked about shadow work, that's a form of that healing. It's standing in the mirror and saying those affirmations when it comes to like your physical body or your sexual desires. It creates this window of healing for your mental and emotional needs. So again, in the mirror, say, my desirability isn't determined by any single person's desire for me. What one small step could you take this week toward a more honest communication about your needs and boundaries for your intimate relationships? I'm proud of you. Now, this last thing I want to just throw in here really quick, and I may make this a separate episode, like a part two, which would be adjusting your inner child, but that's some deep work. So much of our adult expectation patterns trace back to our childhood, those formative experiences that taught us what to expect from others and ourselves. Remember that whole U pyramid we talked about last week with the inner child, or the past you, current you, and the future self? This is where expectations connect to that foundation. They're often coming from those early layers of our development. Self consciousness is rarely about the present moment. It's usually our inner child who learned that love and acceptance were conditional on performance, appearance, or usefulness. Pay attention to when disappointments trigger emotions that feel overwhelming or disproportionate. That's often your inner child's unmet needs speaking up. I would even encourage you to journal about that. Like, make a journal prompt called "My Unmet Needs" and how they come up. If it's sexual, financial, professional, or personal, or even in social settings, like, am I not getting the attention I desire? Where is that coming from? Many of us develop these patterns because we have had to take on adult responsibilities too early, received praise only for achievement rather than existence, or learned that being useful was the only way to be valued. When those old triggers get activated, try speaking directly to your inner child. I see you needed protection and validation then. I am the adult now, and I can give you what you needed. Cue the tears. Self validation might sound like I'm disappointed right now, but that disappointment doesn't define my worth or lovability. One of the most healing practices is to literally visualize holding your younger self when expectations aren't met. I have a weighted blanket that I use when I feel that I'm having a inner child moment. And me and my inner child and my blanket, we lay down, we take a nap, or we'll turn on cartoons. We'll go for a walk. I'll play some music that'll help like self-soothe. And oh Jesus, I've started going back to like some old playlists, and as soon as I turn on the music, memories pop up. Ooh, you talking about heavy work? I'm like, do I want to listen to this right now? I don't. But going back to visualizing your younger self, and when expectations weren't met, offering the comfort and perspective that no one else can give you then. You can rock side to side. That's often a way that we um, can tend to our inner child. You'll rock front and back or side to side. You'll rub your arm. You can rub your ears. Like, those physical touches allow you to connect in with your inner child. Throughout today's episode, we've explored how expectations impact our lives across multiple areas, from our friendships and professional roles to our finances and intimate relationships. We've seen how unmet expectations often trigger deep questions about our worth and value. But we've also discovered that we have the power to address, adjust, and apply new expectations that serve us better. The work of separating expectations from self worth creates a kind of resilience that allows you to navigate disappointments without being devastated by them. It gives you the freedom to want things deeply while not having your entire sense of self riding on those outcomes. This is an ongoing practice. It's never a one time fix. Be patient with yourself as you work through these patterns. Start with just one expectation this week. Notice it, question it, adjust it if needed, and observe how that shift affects your emotional well being. Next week, we're going to talk about adjusting your nervous system, and I'm very excited to talk about it. Until then, remember that you are worthy, not because of what you do, achieve, or provide to others, but simply because you exist, because you, because you are here, you're worthy. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please check out my Substack channel and follow me on TikTok. Until next time, keep adjusting. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.